3, 2, bam. What's up, Monica Perez?
Happy Father's Day, Clint.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I loved your video.
Oh, thank you. I did a video with some dads, and they did a really good job.
I especially like the Chase's story about his first shotgun.
Yes. Yeah, I've worked with Scott for a long time. All those are my friends, and they all have great stories. You can check it out on this Facebook page if you're watching this. Scroll down, and you can watch it. And it's about 13 dads helped me make a cool Father's Day video. I promised that we were going to get into the Second Amendment. Are you ready?
On.
Okay,
yeah.
You say you've got some unique stuff, and I've got 2 surprise questions today that I think are going to change it up a little bit. But let's start with this. What in the world have they done with my Elmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam? They took their guns away. What are they doing?
Dude, I had an argument. Someone was saying how totally racist, like Speedy Gonzalez and his lazy cousin were. And it's like, Yosemite Sam is a very stereotypical, ridiculous character, Elmer Fudd. Why not leave them with their guns and make the guns make them look more ridiculous? If you don't like guns,
that's what cartoons are, though. Cartoons are.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Scooby-Doo, dogs don't talk. Yeah. I don't understand it. That's what the purpose is. But with that being said, that's called a segue. And hello, Franny. How is everybody doing?
Hi, Franny.
You said you had some cool stuff. We've been doing over a different amendment every week. I think so far we've talked about the 10th. The 1st, and I want to say the 3rd or 4th. I can't remember, but
no,
today,
just the 10th and the 1st.
Okay, just the 10th and the 1st. I'm glad you're remembering. How about the 2nd? What you got on the 2nd today?
I'm going to give you the 2nd, and I have gotten a lot of flack on Twitter for what I've said about the Second Amendment, because the talking points are so well established that you're not allowed to say anything that isn't exactly what they want you to say. So, of course, I'm going to read it to you, as I always do. And the words are always important. There's always something you did not realize. You always have to read the Constitution and the Bill of Rights first, yourself. So the Second Amendment is a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, capital S in state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So people on this is, so I always say, don't forget the first part of that. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. And gun rights advocates get mad at me because liberals have picked up on that, or gun control advocates have picked up on that, to say that there are no militias, therefore there should be the gun rights. The Second Amendment isn't what you say it is. The Second Amendment is for the militia. So when I say, don't forget about the militia in the Second Amendment, people on the right are annoyed because they think I'm playing into the argument of the left. And it's slightly more complex than that, in that what this presupposes is that there are militias. And I would argue that it's unconstitutional that we no longer have militias. And that is the answer to our problems with the Supreme Court, with unconstitutional law, with federal law enforcement. All of these things would not be encroaching on our rights if we had militias. So the Supreme Court decides when congressional law is unconstitutional. I completely object to that. I want to overturn Marbury versus Madison. I don't think it's not in the Constitution. That role for the Supreme Court is not in the Constitution. Why? Because Congress has no ability to enforce its laws on the states. The states have to voluntarily enforce those laws the way the Constitution is written. But they took away the militias after the Civil War, and they implemented the Department of Justice after the Civil War so that they could push down unconstitutional law on states that didn't want it. And so you have to get rid of the militia if you're going to do that. And now we have this thing where we're just beholden to the Supreme Court for them to tell us that the laws are okay, and the feds will come in and enforce those. And then you've got the same problem with the National Guard coming in and raising the bar on having to enforce these zones. Trump's like, I'm going to send the National Guard in. And now we have this movement towards nationalizing the police. And I think it all comes down to us not having militias, which are in fact required for a free state.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the police and the federalizing of the police here later on in the show. Real quick, shout out to David Guffey. Thanks for the Father's Day wishes, David. Happy Father's Day to you too, buddy. Thank you for jumping on with us. You said a couple things, and I always get, or I'll read, because I try not to get on these social media debates because I'm not you, and I just don't have that kind of time, and I get frustrated a little bit. But, first of all, they say, the forefathers never intended us to have, AR-15 type guns. And I think to myself, I don't know, back in the day, we were allowed to have the highest technology. We were allowed to have the same thing as the military had if we wanted it back when we, as they developed this. If the musket was the best weapon of choice and we could afford it, we could have a musket.
And there was no standing army. So you had to have, the militia was the best armed.
Right.
The militia was the best. And in Switzerland, they require the citizens, because they have a militia, they require the citizens to be armed, real hardcore, big guns.
When I worked back in radio the first time through back in the mid 90s to 2004, I had several friends that were, of course, they were Second Amendment advocates, but they were also part of a militia. The problem they had trying to go mainstream is they were good people. They weren't racist. They weren't anything. They were just believed in the Second Amendment, and they believed in the Constitution. Is the stigma that came along with, once you tell someone you are part of a militia, that is such a heavy bag to pick up and carry, that by the time somebody can filter out that, it doesn't mean this and it doesn't mean that and it doesn't mean this, and you're a good person, you've lost a reputation is just shot.
I have a few things to say about that.
Yes,
First of all, they were supposed to repel invasion, so it would have to be the biggest guns around. There was not supposed to be a standing army. Two things happened to make it a militia censured like that. This Oklahoma City made that whole era. The FBI really infiltrated the militia movements, made them look like they were domestic terrorists. Now they have this thing, which I also think is AstroTurf, whatever, a created event or movement, the Boogaloo. Plenty of people really buy it. It's about taking back the country or overthrowing the government or whatever, but it's giving libertarians a bad name, militia a bad name. And let me tell you, when I looked up, the militia must be a real threat. When I looked up today to see before our conversation, because I knew you wanted to talk about the Second Amendment, just to make sure I knew all the nuances of the militia issue. And I said, why is a militia? I Googled, why is a militia essential for a free state? And normally you would get like the Constitution Center or some university would explain the background to you. The top thing above your search results, the thing that was highlighted, which is normally reserved for Wikipedia or whatever, said, this is it. Why are militias necessary to the security of a free state? Militias were essential to effectuate the country's goal of seizing the American continent and establishing a white-led capitalist state. The government couldn't violently expropriate that territory all on its own, so it authorized its citizens to do it for them. That is the number one result for why is a militia important for a free state. So it's being framed in this day, when this week, this month, these years, when being a racist is the one thing that is absolutely discredits everything you believe in. If they can hang that label on anything, it is going to discredit. So I think the people who are hanging this label on the militia are the people who don't want the militia, which is the government, the state. They don't want it. It's a threat to them. So they're hijacking the racist idea. And I'm not saying that the founding of our country didn't obviously have racist elements, from slavery to colonization to taking the land away from American Indians. I get that. But I'm saying this is there for something, to discredit the militia, which is a really constitutional necessity, in my opinion.
The problem we're running into, and directly in response to that, the problem we're running into is it doesn't matter if it's the police department, politics. It doesn't matter if it's a scientist, militia. We've said this 1,000 times. Once human beings get involved in any organization, it has the potential to get corrupted unless the people involved check themselves, because that is human nature. If you get 100 people in a room, there's going to be a percentage that do not have good intent on their heart, and they can take a movement over if everybody just stands back and let them. And then everybody's judged like that. And that's not the reality.
I would say that actually happens in every single organization, including the government, which is why I think that the concept of a self-limiting government is the utopian fantasy and not the concept. Yes, I would like Franny to please look that up for me, because last time I looked it up, I did not see that. I did not see
let's read it real quick.
States that have militias. Oh, sorry. Do any states have militias currently is Franny's question.
Yeah, well, let's look it up. We'll figure that one out. Also, when you searched why is militia important, you searched it on Google, didn't you? Did you search that? I just looked it up through Bing and got a different result. So,
and I'm sure DuckDuckGo would too. Yeah.
Isn't that
odd? Google was established by the NSA. So
well, the Bing is not. Bing is the militia of the revolution. Played a vital role in the independence, America's independence. It doesn't go down the racist path at all.
Yeah, and I'm saying I don't even think it's like Black Lives Matters hijacked Google. I think Google in this case is hijacking that message because they are the NSA and they are there to make sure the narrative stays in the lane. And that is that militias are bad, whatever you want to call them. They can be domestic terrorists. They can be white nationalists, whatever it is that you have to call them to make sure that people don't want, I mean, states' rights themselves, of course, because that was an essential part of the Civil War, are painted with the brush of being exclusively racist. But like with everything good in our country's history, it is tainted by that history. But to throw the baby out with the bathwater hurts everybody.
That's what I'm saying. Just because it's labeled something on Google does not mean that is all the truth or the truth or the most of the truth. So when you go to Bing, you get a completely different answer. Right. And to be honest with you, I've started doing that a lot. I've started going to other search engines just to get a counter to make sure that, because Google's not the Google. It's not the, Google needs to be Googled somewhere else sometimes.
Yeah, I try to use DuckDuckGo. It has
say it again. What is it?
DuckDuckGo. I've been using DuckDuckGo for years and years and years, but its tech isn't as good. So like I can't share from it on my phone, for example. So I got out of the habit of using it.
15 minutes in, I'm not told anybody. We've not given you the opportunity to tell everybody how to find your stuff.
And you have to do the same thing.
Well, you go first. Let's go. Let's hit it.
Okay. I'm Monica Perez. You can find me on Twitter night and day, 24/7 at Monica Perez Show. But you can also find my podcast at the Propaganda Report feed on any podcasting platform. My website is thepropreport.com. And mostly you would be interested in our flagship show. My co-host Brad Binkley and I do a show every single day, which is every single weekday, called the Drive Time News Blast. It's 30 minutes of news of the day from a perspective of truth, liberty, and justice. And if you want 15 extra minutes, you can become a patron on patreon.com/propaganda report. And we also do really fun live cocktail parties basically every other Friday for patrons. So it's a really great little community we have going.
You can find all my stuff at duringthebreakpodcast.com or dayfirepodcast.com. We're on Spotify and Pandora and Apple and Google too. I have a Patreon account and I would love $5 or $10 because unlike Monica, who actually provides good quality content every day, I provide good quality content sometimes, but I still like to make a living at it. So here's the thing I was going to ask, because I want to break it up. We're going to try to keep it right at 60 minutes today, but I feel like we're heavy sometimes, Monica. I feel like we get too heavy.
Oh, really? You should. Well,
I got a fun question.
Oh, we were going to do cocktails. Yeah. Okay.
I've just got one question for you. So I looked up the top 50 cocktails in the world, and I wanted to see if you knew what went into one of them, just one of them.
Okay.
I'm going to give you the name and see if you know what's in it.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Yeah. Moscow Mule.
Oh, that's an easy one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What is it? What's in it?
A Moscow Mule. It should be an easy one. A Moscow Mule is basically vodka and ginger beer, but I believe it has lemon juice in it also.
It is ginger, vodka, lime, and soda. So
it's lime. Well, it's ginger beer or the ginger and soda, but it's lime, not lemon. Dang it.
Yeah, that's okay. See, but that's something that's everybody gets to go, if they talk cocktails. Now we're back to serious stuff. Hey, Franny did some research for us.
State Defense Force under command of state executive only is in 25 states, but partially regulated by the feds, though. Okay. So, and that is probably also different from the National Guard, which I think maybe it isn't. Let's have a little project of the National Guard, the State Defense Force, and militias, standing army. Yes.
We got to move quick. We got to keep it at 60 minutes today.
Go.
I've had a directive. So we're going to get into your tweets here in a minute, but I want to spend just a few seconds. And I'm going to say some stuff that's going to upset a lot of my friends. Yeah, because I don't understand. I say this every time we talk. I don't understand when you pick a side, and my side's got to be right. I've got to pick all my headlines and I throw them at you, and I pick all my quotes out and I throw them at you, and I pick all my, I do all this just to say I'm right, and you throw all yours back at me. And we get nowhere. So I'm just going to say it up front. I think one of the problems, and I'm not going to speak for Democrats because I can do a whole podcast what I think is wrong with Democrats. I think sometimes us as Republicans right now are not listening enough, and we're trying to argue too much. And I think there's a difference between standing on platforms and principles. And I think we need to listen a little bit. I think we need to do a little listening, because I think somewhere in all the chaos is some truths that we may not like to look at, we may not like to hear, but that could make for a better country. Now, with that,
are you apologizing for me, Clint?
I don't apologize for anybody for nothing. I've done nothing wrong. I'm just saying I think we ought to shut up. I think we ought to shut our pie holes. Clint Powell ought to shut his mouth sometimes when somebody's trying to tell him what it's like to. If they've grown up with a black perspective in the United States of America, I think I ought to listen. And then after I've listened to understand them, maybe they'll extend the same grace to me and listen when I try to talk back. And then all of a sudden you have dialogue with two meaningful people with good intent.
Be great. And that would be great. I do struggle because
instead of headlines, say all that to say this. If they come after the American flag, though, they're going to have some trouble with some folks. Because I think the American flag, I think they, not black people, not white people, I think those people behind that are driving the scene. So it's not based on race, and it's not based on gender. It's based on ideology and narrative. I think there's a group of people that are going to come after the United States flag. What do you think?
This is a theme that my co-host Binkley has nailed from the beginning, from when Colin Kaepernick took a knee the first time. He said they are after that symbol. And the symbol is very powerful. So I don't think they'll do away with flags, but they might replace it. And I don't think they would really replace it. I think what they would do is kind of insist that you fly another flag alongside it and then above it, etc.
I'm just saying this. I think that is where all this, if it's not handled right, if there's not true conversation involved in something like that, I think that is where you are going to have a clash of ideologies. And I do not know how you compromise on that. That's what I'm saying out loud. Do you want to say hi to some folks? Jason?
I'm afraid I'm freezing up.
Oh,
that's
okay.
JJ. Yes, he's got a show tonight. Tell people where they can see you tonight.
Yeah, Jason, tell everybody where you sit. We'll read it. But he said, hey, you're over your head trying to quiz Monica. No crap. That's why I have her on. If you talk to people, listen, in life, if you only talk to people that you're as smart as or you're smarter than, you never get smarter yourself.
I think he was just giving me props for my cocktail knowledge.
Probably. I was just trying to give you some credit too. It is different than the National Guard, is what Franny said, according about the militia. All right. While Jason is typing in where we can listen to his show, or we'll find his show tonight.
It's live. It's a meat show.
You had some pretty cool tweets this week.
I hope so.
And I'm going to go where I messaged them to you, because that's how I do it now.
Sure. That's awesome. Thank you. Put JJ's thing up. Put Jason's thing up.
Oh, did he just put something?
That's JJ Boogie, who is the guitarist for Arrested Development, my absolute all-time favorite hip-hop band.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the last concert I saw before the Corona times befell us, and it was freaking awesome. And he does a gig with his wife here in the Atlanta area, and it's always a good time.
Oh, that's awesome. So you can find him on South Main at the South Main Kitchen in Alpharetta at 7 p.m. That's Eastern Standard Time, of course. If you live here, you don't need to know that, but that's where he'll be. And so go check him out. And thanks for being part of the show today, Jason. We appreciate it, man. And I'm going to have to kind of look for his music. I think I told you, I had Marty Ray from the Marty Ray Project on my podcast. I ought to get Jason on. That would be a fun.
I went and listened to the YouTube. Yeah, he's a hardcore libertarian.
Hey,
JJ Boogie.
didn't y'all just elect have a nominee for president? Didn't y'all just the Libertarian Party?
I'm what they call a small L libertarian. I do not believe in the party. I do not believe in parties. I am actually beginning to not believe in. I'm beginning to think. I used to think you had to kind of compromise. I don't vote libertarian. I vote for Ron Paul or my mom, but so I don't really go for that. But of course, if that Libertarian Party candidate were elected, I'd be fine with it. I'd be happy, much happier. I'd actually vote for her. I might vote for her.
Let's go back. Just go back. You said you voted for Ron Paul or who?
My mom.
Okay.
She runs. She actually runs on the Right to Life Party. She's 91 now, so I don't think she's going to run anymore. But
hey, put me as your write-in vote.
Okay.
I'll do great. You can be you will be my vice president, and then I'll get sick, and you'll get promoted to president.
And then I would quit. I would disband the government. No, I really think I'm really getting my mind around the idea of taking control of my own society. We sit here, we want to fight, we want to get it right, we want to control the laws and make sure things are fair, and you get to work in somebody else's place and blah blah blah. And I'm starting to think, you know what? I didn't do all this. I did not build this house. I did not build this car. Yes, I worked. I got the money. I bought it. I have the property rights, but it's too much of a struggle to fight with the system to keep your property rights. I really want to just grow trees on a farm and eat the stuff that grows on the trees.
But isn't it weird? I mean, not weird, but listening to you say that, we've got a group of people in the United States that are saying the system is corrupt on this side. And there's a group of people on the other end that going, the government is corrupt or not doing what I think they should do from this side. And I think there's a huge middle mass that are kind of being used as pawns inside that scheme. But listening to you say something about the system is the same as listening to someone on the other side complain about the system. It's just they got different complaints.
Yes, but I would say I think the moral high ground on two scores. One is I will never advocate violence in enforcing a law on somebody for doing something that's between them and the people they're transacting with, or them and their own bodies. I will not do that. I won't force anybody to give up the product of their labor and give it to somebody else. I won't do that, any of that. And so I basically have that kind of non-aggression principle working. But
in your world that you build the fence around and to grow trees, what do you do with people who are truly helpless and cannot defend themselves from the evil pieces of shit that are out there?
Hold on. I will say the other moral high ground I have. No, it's all right. I will. But the other moral high ground I have, if you want to actually work within the system, is that I will acknowledge and accept the Constitution and its protections, our protections against the government. The Constitution, to the extent it formed a government that I don't love, if the government did adhere to the Constitution, I have the moral high ground because I'm really just asking for the social contract to be enforced that the people on the left who claim there is a social contract say that I have to adhere to. So I'll play by their rules, I'll play by my rules, but in either case, I'm playing by rules. Now, as far as
I didn't mean to interrupt you, by the way.
Yeah, that's okay. I forgot where I was. And I mean, this is a new thing. It's not like I've given this speech before. I'm just thinking as we go. And I had a party last night. So anyway.
You could have a party too if you're a Patreon, right? Or not?
Yeah, it was a Patreon party. Yeah, it was super, super fun. But whatever. I always get a little slower on the draw the next day. Anyway, so what happens to the people who need help? Well, first of all, I would say there's two answers to that question. One is, I've always thought whatever people claim a government can do by coercion for the good of the people, because that's the way we want it, then the people would just do. If people are good enough to want a safety net, they would do it on their own. And you can go back and say, there's always, you said there used to be a neighborhood. There used to be like a health insurance or a unemployment insurance in poor neighborhoods, and especially minority communities where they would just look out for each other, put the money in a kitty, bring food over. There's all that kind of, yes, it's a little, it's not as, you can't force someone to participate, but it's like, I've always thought this about love. I've thought that you think love is selfless, but actually love is really selfish, and that's okay. It's that we love each other in a family. We take care of each other in a family, in a community, in a church, and all that kind of stuff, because there, but for the grace of God, go I. So at what point are you going to need that love? Will you pay it forward? And that's really how we're built. I really believe that that's where love comes from, that it's really, so we have those relationships, we have the systems. Ultimately, charity and love are in your interest. And I think, I'm not saying that's theoretical. I think it's instinctual. You don't even have to explain it to somebody. If the safety net isn't there, they know better than to piss off the guy with the money. Or if you're the mom who doesn't want to go out on the street, you're nice to your kids. Or if you're a kid, you don't want the mother to kick you out, you're nice to your mother. It's like being in an Uber. You're giving each other credits while you realize it or not. And then the other thing is, I would say that the government, this thing that you say maybe is going to provide that safety net, causes more harm than good. And I mean that. So like, and you can take this real-time example, Corona times or Black Lives Matters. And in both cases, I can point out where the government policy and the history of the government policy, from everything from race to welfare to healthcare, has been the source of the problems, and that the natural problem, racism or sickness or whatever, would have been resolved better without government interference, because they're taking the crisis and they're sucking up the value. They're exploiting it for their own power and money at the top, and that is unavoidable in a coercive governmental system.
Well, they always say don't let a tragedy or a crisis go to waste, and that's a political mantra, I think. And I was thinking more specifically about the police before we get into your tweets, because when we were sparsely populated, and you might live a day from town or 6 hours from town, you needed to have guns and ways to protect yourself, and I still think we do. I got guns. I think everybody should have guns, and they should be trained on how to use it.
Oh, yeah. Imagine what the rape rate is. The rape rate is much, much higher in places that have no guns. Well, and those waiting periods are a disaster, because people often need a gun in a hurry as a defensive measure more often than an offensive measure. So waiting periods are the worst. That gets people killed.
Well, Women. And I was thinking, one of the reasons that the police has kind of turned into what it's turned into is because we live in such a more densely populated area now, and people don't have, not everybody has guns now. Why? Because there was safety. Well, you get a bunch together. We have a police officer. I don't really need a gun as much because they can be here in 5 or 10 minutes. I can lock my doors. I didn't used to be able to lock my doors like I now have, these big deadbolts, etc. All the different reasons that may go into it. But at the end of the day, I hate to see what's happening in the police world right now, because I support the police, got a bunch of police that are my friends. They're all good guys. And I just think it's different than it used to be 200 years ago or 100 years ago. We just live on top of each other now.
I would say that we have the most advanced technology in human history. Of course, we should have the wealthiest society in human history. And I think that we do. I believe truly, I've seen it in action. I really believe that the cause of almost all crime, certainly crimes against poverty, I would say most of that is from wants of resources, wants of physical resources. And so if you allow the natural prosperity to emerge in society without government, it's mostly regulatory barriers to entry, stuff like that. There's a lot of control over the globalist corporations have really locked up how business is done, and they will make it so that, this bailout, the coronavirus bailout, is making it harder and harder for mom and pop entrepreneurs to make it. It's just going to be a disaster. That kind of stuff really enforces dependence and poverty. And then you have the bigger problem is the drug war, where you have to go in. You would not need policing, a fraction of the policing, if you did not have to send people in to someone's home and steal their stuff because you've decided that stuff is not okay. God gave us drugs. These people want to do them, use them. They sell them because, for a variety of reasons, that 90% of incarceration is drugs or drug related activity. Well, it's a jobs program.
Well, the other thing is, though, we are never going to put enough laws in place, and I'm not going against what I just said a minute ago, but you're never going to put enough laws in place to make everybody equal. In other words, you're never going to get rid of poverty. Doesn't mean you shouldn't try. There's always going to be people in the world hungry. Doesn't mean you shouldn't try. But just because you can't get rid of it also doesn't mean what you said earlier. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So in my world is we can try all that. And the other side of the coin is sometimes there's asshole. I know a lot of people that are poor. You know, I grew up anyway. A lot of people are poor. That doesn't mean all of them go out and steal. The need of want does not, you know, that's a moral thing. That is a
and you can back up the whole thing and say this love, charity, morality, religion. I believe that I try to live as if there is a personal God. I try to believe in a personal God. I have my doubts because I'm too intellectual, but there's definitely a fifth dimension that we don't know about. There is a creation that we just don't know about. But even if there weren't, this system that billions of people believe in religion, that does two things. It does charity. It's like voluntary taxation, and it does behavior, self-control. Yeah. And part of that is that you want to be in that community because that is the safety net. You have to behave. And a lot of people adhere to that. So that is a much more robust, voluntary, peaceful, rewarding, and possibly rewarding. It gives you a meaning in your life that, you know, poverty has a nobility if you put it in the perspective of religion, and you can really make something of this life without material wealth. And that, so it's a whole philosophy. It's this consumerism, this materialism. It's just intentional. It's why I think when they bomb countries and create this refugee problem where people from other countries who were happy there, Syria, whatever, have to go to other places and they resent it. And then they don't have their traditions. They don't have their communities. They don't have the way they can grow stuff on their own land. This is a globalist plot. That is what that is.
I get it. But there's also inside each country has their own group of people that go around and create misery, mayhem, and chaos to capture
the government.
Well, no, there's other things inside. Like, for instance, if you go to the Middle East, there's little factions right now that are going around in Middle East. We got people right now taking over city blocks in Seattle.
Yeah, we have created most of those problems, I think.
Well, I'm just saying it doesn't have to be sponsored by the government for people to rise up.
No, it doesn't. But the policies are so often the thing that cause the problems. And I actually feel that we would have such we would have a stable society, and they can't have that because the health of the state is war or conflict. They need the conflict. They will not let it go. So they will rile us up on purpose. They will cause us pain. They crash the system on purpose so that they can maintain a hierarchy. And there's documentation that that's how they think.
No, I agree. Me and you agree on that. But I always come back to yes to all of this, but I'm trying to figure out how to take what we should be.
Yeah, they're bad people. They're bad people. Yeah. You could even have the real answer for policing is that it should be private. It should be insurance companies, because they will compensate you for what you've lost, and they will evaluate the safety of where you live. And if they say, look, it is not worth it for you to live here, say you're on welfare and you live in an inner city, move out of the inner city. But you know what I mean? And then you can still get the payments. And then because the insurance company will tell you that you are in danger. Just like when I snuck a cigarette and they canceled my life insurance.
Yeah,
I had to get back on track, and then they gave it back to me, but it took a couple of years. But they were telling me my lifestyle was riskier than I understood because they were private insurance.
I think a lot of people who will vote for Trump or insert other person here or Democrats, I think a lot of people that listen to you and agree with a lot of what you say get stuck with yes, 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 but we don't live in the utopia and we don't know how to get it back to that way before November. And I got to vote for somebody because that's my duty as an American citizen. And so I have to vote with somebody who I think aligns with me as much as possible, because there's no option out there to hit the button and go, yes, going back to starting over, and yes, to we're in the perfect world now.
Does Trump align with you mostly?
Well, compared to the other side that we've given ourselves, yes.
What if he's just lying? Because I just read in the Wall Street Journal yesterday that 75. No. I'm not. Of course, I'm not going to vote for them. But I'm just saying, something like 79 out of 84 of his regulatory and immigration and all those kind of laws were overturned because of bad procedure.
Right.
So it's as if he's saying what he's saying, and they're telling you that they passed all this, he's signing executive orders, and they're failing. And they're not getting that much publicity about failing. DACA was pretty big on Supreme Court this week, but they're failing. And I would say, what a perfect setup to get you to think he's doing something for you by bluster and making a big splash about this stuff, and then it fails. Why? Who's he working for?
And see, I think we're having this conversation now, but I think if we'd had all the technology available to us when Bill Clinton or insert your president here, I think every president we've had, most of them, say what we want to hear. This is my big bust on people when people hate Trump for what he says. I don't like a lot of stuff he says too, but it's almost like we would rather go back and have a president that says one thing and does another, right? And does something that's completely opposite. The hypocrite. We always see the headlines of Obama said this, but he did that. Bill Clinton said this and he did that. Bush, but it's almost like we'd rather them just lie to us and smile and then go do whatever they want because we can vote.
That he is lying. He works for the globalists. So, and he said people like what he says. It's the bluster that they like, and it's these failed bills that they just don't even go back and look and see.
Well, and I give okay. So with that's exactly what I'm talking about. Because right there, I think the other side, the Democrats, they had bluster too. They read the headlines, the bumper stickers, and then they do different stuff. I'm trying to figure out where I'm supposed to vote, though.
Did you hear this thing about the Republicans going starting a PAC for Biden, Scaramucci, and then Candace Owens wants to be his VP or something crazy like that?
No, I've not read that. I'll have to go read it. That's awesome.
I mean, it's comical. That's why I just couldn't get on the radio and WSB and not vote. Like it was just wrong somehow that I just didn't feel like it was right of me to be a part of that political conversation and stay outside of the politics of it. So I always vote. I always vote for Ron Paul. And but I almost have a moral problem with voting because it makes the system, which is just a pack of lies, seem legitimate. Like when the Syrian president, people say, "Oh, Bashar Assad got elected with 95% of the vote." What do you think about that?
Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, I actually don't object to him, but
probably not.
but right. And what if only 10 people voted or 100 people voted? That would kind of say, well, he got 95% of the vote, but nobody voted.
But we've set a system up where we don't trust any election now.
Yes, but now well over 100 million people vote, and that totally legitimizes the kind of this two-party nonsense.
So are you saying here on the show, because we got 20 minutes left, are you saying here that you're going to run for office and you're starting a third party? Is that what I hear you saying?
No, but I will tell you this. And I never had any interest in politics, but like my ultimate goal is to move back to Texas and get like 4 acres. And I feel like at that point, I'm going to have to at least try to show up politically to make sure that my property rights are respected, because as laws change, I just feel like I'm going to have to engage. But I moved recently, and I just don't know where I'm putting my roots down.
I think
that's probably the key thing. They send kids away to college. Like, that is just such a dumb idea. They used to use the draft for that, to break up families and small communities. And we all move. We're so mobile. It keeps you from putting roots down in a community where you can defend at least your local laws against your local laws.
Well, people make fun of me a lot of times because I went off to college and came back. I've lived in pretty much the same place my whole life. I'm 52 years old, and I think I've lived out of this city maybe 4 or 5 years total of that, 6 years maybe.
Do you care about the laws there?
Oh yeah, I mean, I know the people that get elected.
Are you active at all?
Yeah,
because you want to make sure they don't. I
went to high school
to your
here.
house and take your guns and invade your space. I totally agree, and I just feel like I've been at sea for so long, and this Corona times just woke me up to the fact that begging your government to protect you or help you or be true to its promises or to bail you out, it's never going to happen. Anytime they want, they can keep me from buying food. So I have to be in a position where I'm not dependent on their system, even though they have no right to take it over, but they have.
I'm going to 2 things. One, I'll vote for you if you can put me on the ticket, like Ministry of Defense or something. I want to be on the cabinet. I want to be in the
Okay.
Give me some token job. The second thing is, I think
You would be the press guy.
Yeah. Yeah, you want me talking? Hey,
Yes.
I could right now tell Jim Acosta to just eat a bag of something.
You're so authentic. Everybody knows you're telling the truth, Clint.
You shut up and get out. That'd be me. So no, but here's the second thing I think we should do. Not next week, but maybe in 2 or 3 weeks. I think I ought to come up with like healthcare, the defense, immigration, and then ask you questions if you're running for president, and you tell me what you would do. I think that would be fun.
I will do the homework for you.
That would be fun. Let's schedule it out.
That's really homework.
That's real homework. Hey, we got 15 minutes. Can we cover at least 3 or 4 tweets?
Yeah.
Okay. You posted one a couple of days ago. I guess the theme never really took off. It was about tech giants fail to eradicate face mask sales.
Dude, you sent me a list of tweets and topics.
Is that not the one?
No, I told you.
Okay. Hold on.
I'm happy to respond to that.
No. How about this one? How about the
I did as a courtesy to you, spent an hour to go through the stuff that you asked me to look at.
How about the one
face mask thing? That was just, I'll respond to it. There was this campaign saying don't buy face masks because there's a shortage and the people in the hospitals need them. And that was from like a couple of months ago. And then now you're completely shamed if you don't have face masks. And it just shows that there is no touchstone of reality for this stuff. They're just floating the meme that'll be more confrontational or create conflict or whatever. But the way the media is treating this news, the way the healthcare advisors are talking to us, it really isn't objectively verifiable, or it wouldn't change over time.
All right, let's go to another one because apparently I didn't send you the right one. How about, has anyone been reading this, ever seen the symbol, much less knew Nazis used it? Is that a good one?
Yeah, but if you look at the email you sent me, that helps.
Okay.
But it's okay. So the Nazi, there was this upside down, I think it's an upside down red triangle that Facebook was, I guess, suppressing. I think Trump maybe had it. So I never saw that symbol before. 2 people showed it to me, sent me pictures of it since then. One was from 1984 where it has the hands. And it says INGSOC. I forget what it stands for. INGSOC. It's from, I guess, the movie 1984. And then that Antifa has that. And what it was, I found out later, was the Nazis used it in concentration camps to indicate usually communist political prisoners. So I did not know that. I asked people on Twitter if anyone had ever seen or understood that symbol before associated with Nazis, anything, and no one had. A symbol is only a symbol if it symbolizes something, and it symbolized nothing to anyone except for the hullabaloo that was created around it, which has now made it a symbol. And I call BS on that because they're doing it in order to, no publicity is bad publicity. I hate it.
I hate it. All right. How about this one? Why the Fed's approach to buying U.S. corporate debt changes everything.
So the Fed they're buying corporate debt, which is a terrible idea for 2 reasons. One is the companies who qualify for it will surely get in line with every policy the U.S. government wants to push, completely hijacks our ability to invest in capitalism, to partake in capitalism in our small way without promoting a political agenda, which is top down. And I hate that. But it also, 2 other things, it greatly suppresses the returns that you can get as somebody who wants to retire, wants to run a 401k. I'm just looking at that now. I'm starting to think I got to save some money. I never saved any money before. And what do I do with it? How am I going to get some safe returns? And there is no way to do it because as that money pushes down those returns, people will flood the equity markets and it'll push down those returns. So you're going to take a risk that you're not getting compensated for. And every once in a while, you can look at the stock market. Every 10 years, it crashes by 20, 30, this year, 40%. And who is at the bottom after it crashes 30, 40%? You panic. You're like, I could live on X amount, but I can't live on any less. I'm retired. I can't work. What am I going to do? And that's where the real dumb money sells. That's why the 401k thing, I think, was a trap. And then the other thing is it creates zombie companies. So where if those companies would just go bankrupt because they're bankrupt. So the Fed no longer is is the change of the Fed is they're no longer asking people to prove that they're not insolvent. So they're actually going to give money to companies that might be going bankrupt, like really genuinely bankrupt. So what should happen to those companies is when you go bankrupt, you do not light your factory on fire. You have to step away and say, I took real value from people and I did not make some value out of it. And I have to let that go now. And I don't get compensated for that. But if you give it like this, first of all, it gets the bondholders and maybe even shareholders in those companies exit. They know the inside scoop. They're getting out of there when the Fed starts coming with the money. And what should really happen is those people should take the hit. They're speculators, gamblers, or bad businessmen, or they got hit by the policy that the government blames on COVID, and they should stand up to that government policy. I don't know. It's not that it wasn't the pandemic that shut them down. It was the policies. And then you can take that factory and maybe the equipment inside isn't worth a shit. Maybe you need to put robots in there or not, maybe you have too many robots in there. And then the resources that have value will be put to better use. And now they're being put to use that is clearly inefficient, ineffective, and that really slows down growth and limits wealth. And not to mention, with all the regulatory barriers, startups who are better will not have the advantage because they don't have access to that cheap capital.
All right, go to the next one because this is why we do it. We hit your Twitter. We try to get them through pretty quick.
Sorry, I'm not fast enough for you, but I actually think a value that we add is that we can go a little deeper.
Yeah,
we don't have a clock.
But that's what the reason I'm saying I'm moving on is because people care about what you think about your Twitter because it's not my tweet, it's yours.
Yeah, it's really meant for a deeper conversation usually.
Here we go. And then I want to add something here in a minute about the payroll protection program. You remember our buddy John Ballinger from a couple weeks ago? Yes. He does business consulting, and he told everybody. And I think I said this last week. It was 4 pages originally, 2 pages of application, 2 pages of small print.
Yes.
Now there's 11 pages of forgiveness documentation and 6 amendments. 6 pages of amendments. And I just had him on a live video. And he told everybody, if you read the fine print, it says if you take this money, you have to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You have to meet all these guidelines. And by the way, if you don't, or we suspect something, guess what we get to do? We get to audit you. He's had a couple of his people that he's helping. They're getting audited because of the way they took it.
Already?
Yep.
I thought it was a trap. And then even if the more sophisticated people can use it to move their assets around.
Yeah. Anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up because we were it's kind of a follow-up
I knew it was a trap.
Hey, let's jump to this one real quick and get your take on Jimmy Kimmel is taking a summer leave.
I really don't like him. I just don't like him. And Binkley, my co-host Brad Binkley, was talking about this from the beginning, that why is Jimmy Fallon and all these other people getting criticized for blackface, which is such a fucking weird thing. I never saw it before in my life. And he was saying what those guys did, what Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel did, was they got into a costume to look like somebody else. Mm-hmm. And they adjusted their complexion as you would for anything. If you were... so he
impersonating someone,
right? He said it was an impersonation, and that seems right to me. And but Jimmy Fallon had to apologize and all that, and that's fine. Jimmy Kimmel, he said, and Binkley kept saying, "Why isn't Jimmy Kimmel on the ropes here?" And then all of a sudden, he comes out and says, "Because I feel bad that I did this, I'm taking the summer off." And I just feel like he decided the terms. He preemptively brought that issue up so nobody else could do it, or they waited for him to be ready to bring it up. And my guess is, from what I've observed about him and his authenticity, I feel like he just wanted the summer off. And then he wanted to pass on that and act like he's got the mea culpa. And then maybe somebody else in the meanwhile is going to get their hand slapped because they didn't step up. So Felicity Huffman, who did worse than Lori Loughlin, got a fraction of the time because Lori Loughlin didn't do her mea culpas.
I think he did. To be honest with you, when I read that, I didn't even read the article. I read your tweet and then I went and read a little bit of it.
Yeah, no.
He just didn't want to stay in the fire. He didn't want to have to, hey, I'm sorry, everybody, I'm out of here. And he turned and walked off. And guess what happened?
And it's boring and he's at home.
He doesn't want, and he don't want to get hammered. Every time he comes out and says something, if he doesn't do exactly what he's supposed to do, if he stayed out, he would get in the mainstream. He would get hit.
Right.
He ran away.
Right. Yeah, he doesn't.
He's been giving shit to people for 2
Yes.
years, and now it's his turn, and he turns and runs. Chicken
Wow.
shit.
Yeah. Maybe he didn't, and maybe he didn't want to take a knee.
Yeah, he don't want to do any of it. He's chicken. He's that kind of
Wow.
stuff. Take the hits, man. You've been giving them out.
Yeah.
Take the hits.
I was. Yeah.
Portland police tear down autonomous zone in
Yes.
front of the mayor's house.
So the mayor wanted to make
Where's
the
this at?
protesters happy.
Where's this at?
Portland, Oregon.
Okay, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, no, I think there's lots of Portlands, but so Portland, Oregon, the mayor reduced the police budget by 16 million, and the demands of the protest was 50 million. Now, I don't think you get to just have a handful of protesters determine your government policy in the face of taxpayer wishes, but he did what he did, and they didn't do anything until he did that, and then they said it wasn't enough, and then they put up barricades around his house, and he was like having none of that. So they took it down. But the more important part is that the rallying cry is not disband the police. Abolish the police is the bigger thought, but it's defund the police. And I think that's where the Republicans in DC are poised to fill that gap in with government money and government control. And if you look at everywhere from the bailout proposal from the senator from Louisiana, the GOP bill pushed by Tim Scott, and the executive order by Trump, it's all about pushing money and control rules that are binding on the police from the top, and defunding it at the local level in response to the protests is the absolute perfect way to create the vacuum that will pull that money down.
So, and this may be because I want to make sure we honor the time today. It's okay. We've touched a number of tweets, but this may be the last one because I want to talk about that for a second. I think that to me is a really big danger that we're looking at, because if that happens, if we get fed, we just talked about the payroll protection program. We've talked about education. We've talked about healthcare. Anytime the federal government gets involved, they set the terms. This is what happens. If you want our money, our help, and our support, these are things you have to do. Well, it's fine and dandy if you think that's going to happen and it's your team in charge. But I don't think you can put policies in place based off only good for my team and what I'm good right now. Because if that changes in November or in 4 years, if all of a sudden someone else is in charge of that, they can reset those terms. I don't think you want federalized police that can change the policy, that can change with whoever's in the White House.
Well, if you look at the Republican suggestions or requirements, they reflect Obama's 21st century policing task force and his current proposals. You don't have to hate them because they're Obama, and a lot of them sound good, but there are problems in the details that you're going to want to watch out for. But in general, I have a few problems with the idea of federal policing. First of all, it's totally unconstitutional, and again, undermines states' rights like you would not believe.
Yes.
And I know states' rights are supposed to be racist, but it is not inherently racist to have local control. It's going to be better to have local control just because of the association with the Civil War and slavery.
Okay, yeah.
That's why. I mean, it's tainted the way the militia is, but it shouldn't be. You want local control. You want people to know the closer you can get to local control, the closer people can get to your character, your specific circumstances, have a personal relationship. I have a son with Down syndrome. I brought him to the police station so they know him. And if he's out on the loose carrying a stick around or whatever, they know who they're dealing with. And that's what you want. And you want them to be able to kind of use a different kind of judgment on an interpersonal level, which you're not going to get from that. It is, you have no, I'll tell you this in a second, but there's no checks and balances. So I think Denny Hastert, who was the Speaker of the House, had something where he was like, ship boys in and he was set up in a hotel room, and he would sexually use those boys. It was monitored by the FBI. He was a real controlled person. They could really get him to do anything. Speaker of the House in Congress, because I think they could have get him to do anything, whatever. It was a system they were in on at the federal level. I believe local cops busted that ring. And I think that happened with the Franklin cover-up. Maybe not every one of these things, but the reason you want local cops is you want to be able to protect your community. The corruption at the top is so great. And the further away people are, they want to reach into your community. They don't want to reach into their own community to do that stuff. And you need your own people to make sure that they don't get the word from the feds to turn a blind eye. And then you may also have kind of surveillance and automation and pre-crime stuff that your locality wouldn't want. And I can tell you from where I'm living right now, the Donald Trump's FCC is pushing down 5G, and you have to say yes, and you have to say yes within 90 days. There's basically no way around it. And if they're allowed to come in there and push that kind of technology down on towns, and towns cannot resist, there's no reason they couldn't do the same thing with the cops. If they're the person who pays the piper is the one who calls the tune. And that's what the Republicans are setting up. But the Democrats were going to set it up, but it takes a Republican sometimes to get this stuff done, because Republicans will allow it only if it's from their side.
You know, I think I look at this as almost top heavy intervention from federal government, from any government, but we're talking about the feds right now, is good up until the point it gets top heavy, and then it becomes just too burdensome and it collapses down on itself, which is us. And I think I would challenge most people, show me a program where they've gotten involved and it stayed in a moderate way. I'm sure they're out there. I'm not that well read. If you'll show me a program where they stayed moderately involved, kind of stayed out of it, and been a real benefit, where they haven't just gone
Department of Education, people run on abolishing it. I mean, that's how well it works. And that's what they're going to have. They're not going to call it the Department of Police, law enforcement. They might, but it's going to be that anyway. I
don't know of a good example where people just go, hey, yeah, you know, it's let's get them involved, and it'll be great because they've never screwed everything else up. Let's do this before we got a minute or two, and we're going to keep it close to 60 minutes. But I did see one other tweet from you, and you were asking people to register to email you a backup plan.
Yes, this is the thing. I want people to give me their email addresses. If you're a patron or tweep or anybody who wants to be able to find me if I get deplatformed, because I've been deplatformed before. I was devastated on WordPress. I got a video taken down from YouTube, and if you get 3 of them taken down, you're gone kind of forever. And the WordPress thing, they took all of my sites, and I think stuff that Binkley was working with me on too, because it was all under my name. And then I was taken off WSB, I think, because of what I was saying. And I'm just afraid now that Google kicked off Zero Hedge and the Federalist, or at least demonetized it pending further action. Facebook is coming under pressure from advertisers to be more active on the censorship side. I think what Trump and Barr are doing maybe makes people think it's going to be good because it looks like it's going to protect conservatives, but the fairness doctrine always protects liberals. That's why Obama wanted to bring it back, but couldn't. So when the changing of the guard happens, like you say, that could be a problem. Yeah. And then they say that they're going to restore the liability for the stuff that's on these people's platforms. And that is not, it might favor conservatives, but it is not going to favor people who want to expose the truth.
Here's what I want everybody to do. I want everyone that watches this, share it with somebody, and encourage them to go find Monica on YouTube, join through Patreon, and join her parties, and give her your email. And so if things go south, we can all get in touch with her. So when she runs for office, we can all support her for president.
Are you worried, Clint? I'm afraid I'm going to take you down with me. I've done it before.
I don't. What am I?
I try to keep it within the Overton window. You know what the Overton window is?
Yeah, no. Tell me.
The Overton window is where it's stuff you're allowed to talk about in the two-party system. If you get too far outside the Overton window, you could never win an election, for example. I got you. So I try to stay within the Overton window for you, Clint.
But no, I mean, you don't. You say what you need to say. I try. Listen, here's what I know.
We talk about plenty. I want people to know that I have a founding and real principles. It's not just about truth and exposing the official narratives. It's about principles.
Well, and I think that's what people are attracted to you for. I think they come to you for your principles, and then they stay with you because you have great lipstick.
I did have to change my lipstick before the show, literally, because it would look too crazy. My face was disappearing into the background. It's not vanity. It's for you. I do it for you.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to let you go, everybody. We're at 62 minutes. We did pretty good, much better than normal.
Yes,
tell everybody how to find you. And then I'm really, really ready for you to start your cocktail parties up again. How do people find you? And we're leaving.
All right. thepropreport.com. You can find everything there. And if you want to listen to my podcast, go to Propaganda Report on your favorite podcasting feed. And if you want lots of extras and goodies and even some fun parties, go to patreon.com/Propaganda Report. Oh, and don't forget Twitter at Monica Perez Show. How about you, Clint? Because you're going to be on my YouTube channel tomorrow. So you tell my people where they can find you.
Duringthebreakpodcast.com or dayfirepodcast.com, where we talk about adventures in the great outdoors with people from all around the United States. And real quick, too, on my During the Break Facebook page, and I shared on mine, I have been cutting up your segments about the amendments, the First Amendment, and I've been putting 2 and 3 minute segments out there. So if you're wanting to get us,
I want to put that on my YouTube. So
I'll send it to
people
you.
Are listening, what I'm saying is this show will be on my YouTube channel tomorrow. So if you didn't see it all, or you want to look at past ones, can you throw up a couple of those little comments?
I'm sorry. Yeah. Here we go. Let's see. This was Jason who said, thank you for talking about his show tonight. And then we got Franny that said, great. That will be, I'm assuming she's talking about you
great
changed
show.
Your lipstick.
And then do Brad.
Yeah.
And Brad says, enjoyed it. Always enlightening.
And I'm assuming he's talking about your input. Yeah. There you go.
I think it's our conversation.
All right. We did good. Let's get out of here, Monica Perez. You go enjoy wherever you're at. I'm going to go enjoy wherever I'm at. We're in different time zones. Bye.